of. I know everybody wants me to say today we're done, and I hope we're done. But as I said just a moment ago, hope's not a strategy.
Right.
I think that we could still see the emergence of new variants that could challenge the immunity that we have already, which is what makes this virus so difficult and so different than what we've had before. When you see influenza, pandemic influenza occurs because a bird virus finally evolves out of the bird, gets into particularly a pig, because a pig has a lung that has receptor cells for both human viruses and bird viruses. And when they get into a pig cell in particular, they combine, they mix up. The flu viruses are very promiscuous, and they come up with this brand new strain that causes the next pandemic. Well, when that spillover occurs into humans, that's kind of the seminal event. The rest of it emerges pretty much in humans. We don't necessarily see us giving it back to the animals. They give it back to us. We give it to the animals. They give it back to us. With looking at SARS-CoV-2 and this particular coronavirus, we don't know what it's going to do. Is it going to go back and forth between animals? I mean, I could line list an entire set of all the animals that are now infected with this virus. And we don't know what that means.
The first ones that we found that transmit from humans to animals or back to in terms of SARS-CoV-2, was it ferrets? Like, what was the first animal that they discovered that humans can infect and they can infect us with this?
Well, there was game animals, mink and so forth in
Minks.
Europe that we saw that. But it became clear because we started seeing zoo animals infected.
Right.
Just this past week, we've heard about lowland
Cats
gorillas.
and stuff.
Cats.
Yeah.
We've seen dogs and cats in people's homes where there were cases. And they got the white-tailed deer. I think there's a whole number of animal species where ultimately they could be infected with this virus. And the trillion-dollar question we don't know, will that in any way, shape, or form contribute to a spillback moment into humans with a new virus that, again, will challenge our immune systems, challenge our protection, and what does that mean? And we just don't know.
Is that the term they use, or animal reservoir?
Yes, absolutely. That's it.
So that's any other animal that can catch it. Now,
catch it and keep it going inside them. So if sometimes an animal may get an infection from us and it's terminal. It ends. It doesn't keep going in the animal population. But as we just talked about the white-tailed deer, clearly there the virus is ongoing with transmission in the deer population itself.
Are there any examples of an animal being infected and then, like from a human, like a human giving it to their cat, for instance, and then the cat giving it to another human?
You know, it's unclear. And when I say unclear, there was surely some data looking at the game farms where it was thought that some of the transmission was from human to animal, animal back to human.
When you say game farms, are you talking about like captive COVID?
In this case, what we're talking about are primarily fur-bearing animals for pelts. You know, the mink, the ferrets, that type of animal species.
So that's where they first started to see the transmission?
Well, it's suspected. It's never been confirmed, but it's been suspected there. There's been some discussion and follow-up on people's homes where somebody got infected, the animal was infected, the dog or the cat, and somebody else got infected in the home. Well, it could just easily have been person to person, and the animal was incidental. So I don't think we have any good examples of a human to an animal and an animal back to a human. There was a recent outbreak in Hong Kong. It's now emerged into a large outbreak where they thought that hamsters were potentially being sold in pet stores were involved with being infected and transmitting. But I think the data still are out on, did the hamsters really transmit back to people? They were definitely infected, but I don't know if they transmitted back to people.
Now, this virus, are there parallels to other viruses that we could look to and see this kind of similar pattern emerging, like particularly with like transmitting it into these other animals and then the potential of these animals transmitting it into the people? It seems like there's so many different species that have it.
Yeah. You know, we really don't have one like this, particularly that can cause such widespread disease. I mean, when you think about Omicron, for example, you know, when this first emerged in November, I coined the term a viral blizzard because to me, that's what it looked like it was going to be. It was just going to flood the world. If you look at Alpha and Delta and all these others, it took weeks, in some cases months, before it spread around the world. This one spread around the world literally overnight. And, you know, we're now seeing major activity in the Western Pacific region, you know, in Hong Kong, likely in China. We're not hearing enough about it, Korea, etc. But most of the rest of the world's already been hit hard and over it. Well, that is like a blizzard, what it did. We've not seen that with any other animal-related virus in humans. Even influenza hasn't done what Omicron's done in that way.